We've got a pretty good outline as to what we're going to talk about today, and if we go over it, it'll be okay. But Sean's actually got a pretty interesting setup out there. So do you want to tell us what's going on out there with the computers and so on?
Well, we're giving away free laptops, so if you guys come by the booth, just scan the code, and if Lady Luck's on your side, you're all set. No, we've got the booth set up down at the front entrance, and just looking to meet strategic people and excited to have those connections. Yeah.
And so tell me a little bit about what is your role? What do you focus on, kind of like a day to day?
I'm more of a systems architect, so ultimately I spend a lot of time in product. I spend a lot of time in the development side of the company, driving most of the sales and marketing, and mainly investor relations, working with a lot of our investors and strategic partners. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what TickBlaze is, and what is it that you're kind of essentially launching at the Benzinga event today?
So precisely, we chose the Benzinga event strategically because we feel that Benzinga and most of the people here have a very common mission, and that institutional grade technology and resources should be made available to the entire industry, including the retail. And so TickBlaze was essentially built originally for institutions, quants, hedge funds, family offices. And with our teams and our several companies and experience in the trading technology side, we've expanded the product offering to be suitable for both the retail and the institutional side of the industry. And essentially we're using this event as the official launchpad for us opening up the platform for the first time ever for retail clients.
Gotcha, thank you. So, you obviously have tons of, we kind of talked about this in our prep call, but you have complexities and challenges that you spot across, whether that's retail market participants or those that are more maybe institutional and buy side or even run prop operations. So what would you say are some of those complexities and problems that you see?
Well, I think every good business needs to identify problems first before they can try to solve them. They need to understand them fully. In the trading space, let's talk traders first, right? Traders are on a constant hunt for profitability. Their only objective is to make money, and they're always challenged by complexities of changing markets, dynamic volatility, and really they're on the hunt for strategies, education, and technology that's user-friendly and accessible that they can actually use to trade. Brokers, on the other hand, well, they're essentially looking for innovation. It's a constant battle for lower fees and user signups and trade activity, right? And you can only drop your fees so much before you have to really question whether you need to change your business models, right? We understand that user acquisition for brokers is primarily the primary focus for them because we want to get as many users into brokers as possible and get them actively trading live accounts. On the prop firm side of it, outside of the much anticipated regulatory changes that are coming, it's really about defragmenting the space. They're really in a fragmented environment, having to piece together so many multiple service providers just to start their company and start to scale their company. And we see that as too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak, right? Like we want to defragment that, making it easier and actually more cost effective and to drop those costs for the prop firms. And the hedge fund side, the institutional side, the family offices, the portfolio managers, the quants, their main struggle is technology disadvantages. Unfortunately, the industry does not have platforms that are built strategically for their needs. Their needs are completely independent from the retail, and they're completely different than brokers or any of the other family offices. They need portfolio level infrastructure, and to this date, there hasn't been those types of offerings in the current marketplace. And that's why we're here. I mean, TickBlaze is designed to cater to each of those types of problems.
So tell me a little bit about how exactly you talk about defragmentation and so on. How exactly is TickBlaze solving some of those problems?
Well, we're an all-inclusive solution, right? And so ultimately our goal is to be able to have a one-stop operation so that people can come in, whether you're retail, whether you're broker, whether you're prop, whether you're institution. We have everything built in-house so that we can defragment that and have an all-inclusive technology offering that's scalable.
Yeah. Gotcha. Now, tell me a little bit about, in terms of, when I was out there and I'm kind of looking at the platforms and stuff like that, where, I kind of want to go back to your, background, when you were, when you're thinking about building this technology and so on, or what does the discovery process look like when you're trying to understand what are exactly these problems and so on, especially from the TickBlaze perspective?
Well, it's a funny story because we started as, probably close to a decade ago, building schools, working heavily on the education side, the retail side. We've partnered with pretty much every prop firm or broker in the industry, every trading platform we've built applications into, so we understand their code base, we understand their product, we understand their disadvantages, their advantages, their pros and cons. We've seen it from an end user perspective first. So when TickBlaze became an opportunity and when we moved forward with the acquisition, it was really about seeing an opportunity that we could bring technology that didn't exist in the space and be able to innovate and be able to provide advantages that unfortunately are at a disadvantage right now. So, I mean, for us, because we can see the differences between all the products and we understand what the consumer uses and needs and what the partners and the businesses demand, we're able to cater to both the B2C and the B2B side, coming from experience and perspective rather than just starting a company and saying, hey, I want to do this. We actually worked in the industry for a decade, integrating to all of the other companies, so we understand it fully.
Gotcha. Okay, so one of the things, and so you kind of talked about it, and we had the prep call, is what opportunities exist for potential partners in this room to collaborate with your company and leverage TickBlaze?
Well, if we're going to work together, it really boils down to three core pillars, right? Before you would ever want to partner with anybody, I think you need to understand what we stand for as a company. First of all is synergy, right? We have to be able to understand your needs and problems so that we can solve them. And that makes it make sense. The second one is it needs to be smooth, right? Everybody in here has had their fair share of friction in business, right? We don't need to create more of it. We want to make sure that you can come on, make it smooth to onboard the technology and integrate. We can deploy it quickly, and then that way it's a very enjoyable experience working with us. The last one is it needs to be profitable and scalable. And unfortunately, this is where I feel like so many companies get it wrong. Everybody builds their businesses to be able to create pricing structures that are suited to their only interests. When really I never understood that, right? Like, why wouldn't you want to build your pricing models that meet the demands of your partners so you can adapt into their infrastructure and business models and scale with them rather than forcing them down to your only path of interest, right? So TickBlaze has built different pricing structures and partnership structures for different laterals because we understand that brokers price their businesses different than a hedge fund or different than a family office or a prop firm. So we've built flexible pricing and dynamic scalability so that you can have a synergistic, smooth, and profitable partnership when you work with us.
Gotcha. And so how do you inform kind of the development, continuous development process? What informs that, and what do the conversations look like with those potential participants that are on that platform?
So let's dial it back a little bit, because one of the things that's interesting is that TickBlaze is a hybrid solution, right? And what that means is we're actually two platforms in one. We're built to service the full life cycle of the discretionary manual traders. And the reason we do this is because we can service the entire, do-it-yourself trader, the retail trader, the entire industry of that side. But we're also built to handle the institutions, the quants, the hedge funds, the family offices, the portfolio managers. And what that means is we can service B2C and B2B. So let's talk traders for a second. We've built pre-built strategies, advanced indicator suites, custom studies, all into the technology so that we can provide resources that traders need immediately without having to figure out where they're going to buy their strategies, where they're going to trade, and how they're going to basically make money. Most importantly is that we want the technology to be very user-friendly because the market's already difficult as it is. They don't need that extra complexity. So we can have a trader up and running in less than 5 minutes with live market built right into the technology. Now for brokers, it's really about providing innovation for their clients, right? We can service more of a bigger audience for them without having multiple platforms that have to be pieced out to be able to do that. And we can drastically help user acquisition for our partners. We'll get into the community in just a second. The third thing is prop firms. Because we have an all-inclusive solution, we can basically help scale with dropping their costs and having everything built into the tech. But with funds, and anybody in here that's interested in looking at institutional need, we have technology that is years ahead of that as anything in the industry. And what that means is imagine an environment where you could build 100 trading systems simultaneously, backtest them, deploy them, and trade them in a portfolio level infrastructure against 10,000 markets in less than 3 minutes. We can service that now. And there isn't technology in the industry that is built to do that. And we're proud to be able to pioneer that. Now, the key here is that TickBlaze is built to scale and adapt with our partners. We're broker neutral, we're multi-asset, and we're also multiple code language. TickBlaze is built for C# and Python development, which allows us to cater to a much larger development environment. And the biggest thing for me, and if you guys could do me a favor, if everybody can humor me for a second, and where's your cell phones? Can everybody just hold up your cell phone for a second? Like, play along for a second. It's important that you guys see this. I guarantee, I'll bet my company on it, that everybody in here has a social media and social network app installed on your phone. Am I wrong or am I right? Right? Well, we understand that technology is only 50% of the battle. So by having great tech, that's part of it. But we spent the exact same time building out the first ever open source infrastructure for a peer-to-peer social network. We've built basically the next Facebook and Instagram for traders and developers and institutional clients and partners that we work with. And we know that so that we can scale user acquisition and leverage all of that traffic for all of our partners. So we're not just a trading platform, we're actually an ecosystem, and frankly, we're the future.
Okay, gotcha. One thing that I think is really interesting is, you saw, and this is kind of from like the retail lens. When I joined Benzinga, it was probably 2019. That was really kind of like this eruption of like, interest in trading, and you had fees basically go to zero and so on. And so that brought in a lot of market participants, but with very kind of short-term time horizons, right? How do you think about graduating those users to someone with more kind of a longer term, more sustainable approach using platforms like TipPlace? What are the sorts of conversations you have, within your own company and with partners when you're trying to think about how do you graduate those users and equip them with the technology to basically own their financial future?
It really is about understanding the barrier to entry for all of your customers. So from the trader's perspective, it's a very costly industry, right? They need to spend thousands of dollars on tools and education and resources. And if we can provide all of that infrastructure built into the technology when it comes to strategies or indicators and algorithms and live classrooms and online education built in around the community, traders don't have to spend $10,000, $20,000 just to get to where they need to be. It's all built into the tech, right? On the business side, let's face it, like we all want to see success, but at the end of the day, when you go home, you're really thinking about how can I grow my company? Like how can I actually get more users? How can I scale my clients? How can I add more value? And as a company, we put that at the forefront of our strategy. Like we want to look at what do our partners need? How can we help scale our partners? Because the way that we do that is providing value to their clients. And if we can do that through our technology and not just put our interests first, then realistically, we become a technology provider that is putting our partners before our own and interests. And we see that as a very successful strategy.
When you're thinking about like, technology, building this technology, we talked a little about earlier about how you inform that development process and so on. And so, when those traders are getting onto that platform, at least, particularly because Benzinga has always been focused on individual investors, how do you educate them on what it is that is on that platform to be able to use that all the capabilities that it may have?
Well, I think what we've learned over the years in business is that, it's not so much getting them to buy your product, it's getting them to stay using it. And, in SaaS, when you run a subscription-based company or a SaaS company, it's all about user experience in the first, 3 touch points. You need to wow them quickly, you need to not waste their time, and you need to not confuse them, right? If you're a manual trader and you're a discretionary trader, and yes, we have algorithmic solutions, the last thing you want to be doing is trying to send them down the wrong path within your customer experience, right? So we really have segmentation built out into the product. So when you come in and you download a free trial of the tech, we automatically are finding out what are your interests, what are your goals, what are you looking to accomplish, where do you want to go? And by definition, we've built strategic nurture sequences in place so that we can cater all of the education strategically to the interests of the user, whether that's a trader, whether that's a partner, whether that's a developer. And it's critical because if you miss the mark in the first 5 minutes of them coming into your product, if they have a friction experience, you've lost that client.
Yeah, so that's what I was getting at, was trying to understand how that onboarding experience is different from maybe other technology and so on.
Yeah, for us, it's really about screening. I mean, we can get them in through marketing. That's one part of the battle, but it's about understanding your client quickly when they come in. And we ask strategic questions, we ask probing questions through the free trial process, and making sure that we meet them with a success specialist, we get them into the classrooms, we get into the community, and so forth. I mean, it really is about listening rather than just force feeding the features It's really about understanding the pain points of your user. Yeah.
All right. Seems like we're running a little bit out of time, but thank you so much, Sean, for joining me today, and hopefully this is a successful launch.
Yeah, thank you guys for being here.